And joining us today at the Cloud for Utility Summit is FERC Chairman and one of the most well-liked people in Washington, Chairman Neil Chatterjee. Neil, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get to FERC?
So first, maybe a little bit of background. FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and how one becomes a commissioner or chairman there. The FERC is an independent agency that is responsible for overseeing wholesale electricity markets and approving energy infrastructure applications. So it's a very significant commission. There's 5 members. There can never be more than 3 from the party that controls the White House, and then the party that doesn't control the White House gets 2 members. All 5 are nominated by the President and confirmed by the United States Senate. I had the great fortune, being from Lexington, Kentucky, to serve for a number of years as the principal energy policy advisor to the Senate Majority Leader, Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky. And so when an opportunity came open at the commission, Senator McConnell, recognizing the significance of the commission, was gracious enough to put me forward. And I was nominated by the President and confirmed by the Senate last August.
So I know you spent a lot of your time on Capitol Hill working in both the House of Representatives and the United States Senate, and then you transition over to FERC. Tell us, for our audience, what's a typical day like at FERC? What's a day like for you?
It's very different in some ways and quite similar to my experiences on the Hill. So the dynamics at the commission, you've got 1,500 people that work there, some of the most talented lawyers and engineers and technicians that we have on the planet, let alone here in Washington. And so we have 11 program offices that have specific portfolios on the range of issues that are before the commission. And then on the 11th floor, the top floor of the building, is where the chairman and the commissioners reside. And so a typical day, my team and I are interacting with my colleagues on the commission, with the various program office leadership as they're walking us through the issues before us, and with stakeholders, with environmental groups, with consumer groups, with industry, to get their feedback as we make these consequential decisions.
So for some of our audience not as familiar with the day-to-day workings of FERC, what issues are you focusing on right now? Or what issues is FERC looking forward?
This is a pivotal moment in our energy policy situation here in the United States. We've seen tremendous changes in our energy generation mix over the last decade or so. There's been an explosion in natural gas production and delivery in the country, and gas remains very inexpensive. We've seen rapidly increased deployment of renewable technologies like wind and solar, combined with technological innovation like battery storage that has really been fascinating to see. And as renewables come into their own and become cost competitive, that has changed the landscape of our energy policy. And so what we're seeing now is a period in which this exciting transition is taking place, but it's also putting pressure on traditional forms of base load power like coal and nuclear. And there are implications to that as well. And so the commission is kind of sorting through how to manage this transition and ensure that our hugely successful electricity markets continue to function well.
Great. Chairman, I have a question for you in regards to Cloud for Utilities here. We're all about cloud computing and try to educate the sector about the benefits of that. Are there any opportunities for FERC to help drive cloud computing out into the market?
I think the best thing that FERC can do for cloud computing is to create an ecosystem that enables these new technologies to flourish, and you'll see cloud computing benefit from that. What I'm seeing increasingly is that the computing space has traditionally been comprised of folks that are huge energy users. So anything that FERC can do to facilitate, the competitive markets to provide the lowest cost to consumers, that's always been great for cloud computing because of the energy intensive nature of what it entails. What I'm seeing more and more is that these formerly huge, intense energy consumers are now becoming active players in the market. They're procuring their own generation. And so they have the ability not to be takers in the market, but truly impacting the markets themselves. So I think having a forum like this, in which folks on the regulatory side can learn more about the needs of cloud computing, and you guys, learning more about the policies that we put forward to enable these markets to function. I think there's a real productive conversation to be had there.
Sounds great. One last question for you. This is a big question. If there's any chance we could be so blessed to have you be part of our event next year and perhaps be a keynote speaker, we would love that if that's a possibility.
It would be an absolute honor, and thank you for thinking of me. That would be fantastic.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.